We do, however, in the past, if you look at the situation of the Democratic Alliance, we were the official opposition before this election. And we had a chief whip who was known by mouth as chief whip of the opposition, although in the rules it was referred to as chief whip of the second largest party. So I would just like us to have clarity on the fact that, firstly, the second largest party in Parliament, in the National Assembly, doesn't matter which party it is, necessarily has to act discipline onto the biggest or second biggest amount of people in the National Assembly. And I would therefore like to have official recognition for a chief whip of the second largest party. Should that party be in government, then obviously it can't be a chief whip of the opposition. You will have your chief whip if the third largest party is in government or is in the opposition, that will determine. But if you rank them in terms of the size of the party, it will make things easier to then say that you've got the chief whip of the majority party. Then you've got the chief whip of the second largest party, irrespective of whether that party is in government or not. That will cover it for future problems that we might have there as well. Then, should that party be in government, we can still define the chief whip of the opposition. It can still be defined. But I think it's very important that the chief whip of the second largest party must be defined. Chairperson, for the chief whip of the majority party, he must be able to act as the chief whip of his people. The fact that we are in a government of national unity does not mean that we do not have people in the National Assembly that must act out and act as guardians or people watching over and keeping the executive to an account. They must still do that, and that must be done via their whippery. Chairperson, if we can get that in, I am fine with the rest of the definitions. I don't think any of them are major stuff with regards to what I've already discussed, so that would be all for me at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Okamp. Honorable Masaule.
Thank you very much, Chair. We start our presentation by acknowledging that we find ourselves in a situation where the rules, National Assembly rules, never catered for different electoral outcomes. What do I mean? Where there is no party, one party that enjoys a simple majority to constitute government. And that necessitates that certain definitions and concept must be factored in the rules. Now, we want to first start by defining what we call majority. And you will see in the sequence that I'm going to follow why it's important that we define majority. First, let's have an understanding of what majority can mean. And I will read it. It says a critical distinctive feature of a majority in decision making is the different levels of threshold for different decisions. As electoral outcomes become more polarized with a lack of simple majority, a higher threshold enables veto power by smaller parties. Now, and this is where Honorable Hlophe will say we are playing with English. We want to submit that we have different majorities. One would be absolute majority or a simple majority. What happens there? A vote or a decision decided by a 50% plus one principle. And the second majority can be 2/3 majority or what you call supermajority or special, what happens there is that a vote or a decision is decided by a two-thirds principle. And in a supermajority rule, the fostering of consensus, increasing institutional stability and providing protection to minorities. Now, the third one can be relative majority. It's a plurality system. What happens there? It's a first past the post single non-transferable vote block, vote party block vote. That's what it means. And then you have a higher vote, meaning it's a winner takes all. Now, why is it important that we define majority and how we propose that we define it? We want us to define majority and also define majority party and put it in the rules. Like I said, you will see why it's important. So we want majority to mean a relative majority, absolute majority or special majority, so that it caters for what do we mean in the rules moving forward when we say majority. Then we want us to deal with majority party to mean the largest party in the assembly with an absolute majority. That will guide us when we speak about the chief whip. Currently, we speak about the chief whip of the majority party, which there is no majority party at the moment. Now, we are proposing that if we were to say chief whip means the chief whip of the largest party in the assembly, and if the largest party in the assembly is not in government, the party with a relative majority assumes the chief whip. We want to say on the recommendation that was made by the EFF to mean to change from the chief whip of the largest party or the majority party, we don't go to where we say the chief whip of the assembly. We leave it there, chief whip of the largest party. We believe that will save us. The leader of opposition. We recommend that the leader of opposition means the leader of the largest party. So we gradually move from the majority party and use the concept largest party in the assembly. That is not in the executive. And then we want to propose the definition of opposition parties to mean parties that are not represented in the national executive. And in the event that all parties, or independents for that matter, in the National Assembly are represented in the executive branch, a leader of the opposition, as required by the Constitution, will not exist, which Honorable Ndlozi has also spoken to. Now, we support the proposal that says the chief whip of the opposition will mean the chief whip of the largest party in the assembly. That is not in the executive. Now let me leave the issue of chief whip and come to the composition of Honorable Ndlozi spoke about it. Yes.
Oh, okay.
We want to change that rule from what it says that the chief whip and 9 other members of the majority party. We recommend that we say the chief whip and 9 other members appointed by the chief whip, so that the principle of negotiations towards the GNU is applied here, because it will enable the chief whip to factor all the aspects that have informed the majority of the national executive. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Masaule. Honorable Ghana.
Thanks very much, Chair. So,
Chair, sorry. So the appointment must be 9 people instead of the ones that were coming from the majority party, because the chief whip is a chief whip of the majority. We're cutting chief whip of the majority party. Thank you.
Now, you may proceed.
thanks very much, Chair. So, agree, and we can tick it off in terms of the leader of the opposition. No further debate, at least from my side, is required there. We can agree in terms of the opposition in relation to the national executive, because there's always this tendency to take things that exist outside of parliament, which are normal course in political negotiations, and then we want to invite them into the rules. So using the definition as proposed, first proposed by Honorable Ndlozi, and then seconded in terms of looking at the parties that are not in the national executive constituting the opposition. I think that part is agreed. Then there's this issue around the chief whip, and the chief whip of the opposition is the easiest of them all, because the moment you recognize the leader of the opposition, then there should not be a debate in terms of the chief whip of the opposition. So that should not be a debate. What I think creates a bit of a debate is what Honorable Ocamp is raising, which might very well be covered or find expression in the formulation from the ANC with regard to the composition of the Rules Committee, because where this second largest party comes into play, it's more in the composition of committees, whether it's more the Rules Committee, because you have a situation wherein the second largest party is not explicitly stated in the composition, but the second largest opposition party, it's explicitly stated with a guaranteed number. Now, the question that arises is whether the second largest party, whether it's in government or not, deserve explicit mention. Because if you check the rules, Rule 191, it then says, even if one was to accept what you are saying, in terms of the 9 people appointed by the chief whip, it explicitly states that there are 2 members of the second largest opposition party. So it's explicit in that regard. But then you have this situation wherein the second largest party in this new in the new reality that we find ourselves in, it's not explicitly stated. Now the question is, should we explicitly state that, or should we then take the let's call it the 9 members to be all inclusive in an instance that the second largest party is in the government, because this is the challenge that it creates. For instance, with if you take 191 1B Roman figure 2, which says that you've got the chief whip of the largest opposition party and 2 other members of that party. Now, in an instance where the second largest party is not an opposition and there's no explicit mention, it can get to a point where the second largest party in the assembly will get less representation than the party that is in the official opposition, if you look at the numbers. So to try to break that deadlock, there are 2 options that we could use to break that particular issue. One is to then take the rules committee, subject it to the same requirements as the other committees, as an option. So if you want the rules committee, let's say, to have 19 members, then you just use the proportionality. So it doesn't matter. So what that will then do, Honorable Mashaul, is that it will in essence kill or make the point around the 9 other members no longer to stand. So you no longer need to specify the 9 other members, because now you'll allocate proportional. So if we move from the point of saying the rules committee ought to have 19 members, I just picked the number in my head, then you proportionally allocate the members of that committee according to the votes that each party will have received. So there's no longer a guaranteed, because what creates the issue now is the guaranteed sittings of the official opposition and the second largest opposition. Because in an instance, let's say for instance, you've had a situation wherein, to the point that Honorable Ndlozi was raising, that let's say the parties that were not in were to be, let's say, given the current configuration, it's Rise Mzansi, because I'll speak for myself, and Bosa, because Bosa is in the room. I don't want to mention someone that's not in the room. If everyone else was to be in the executive, every other party was to be in the executive. So the only parties that are not in the executive was Rise Mzansi and Bosa. If you keep the 9, to say that's the 9 that belongs to almost the executive, what it will mean is that Rise Mzansi will have more representation in the rules committee than MK, effectively. Now, is that what you want? Because you need to think of, as Honorable Ndlozi was saying, we need to think beyond the current situation. So either you use proportionality, or you have to insert the concept of the second largest party, which for me, it's trying to use different corners. A preferred option, given our current and likely future configuration of electoral outcomes is to then move to the proportionality. But with this slight change, or this slight thing, that the chief whip, as it was, which it's more English, I agree with Dr. Hlophe, from what Honorable Ndlozi and what the ANC comes with, is that the chief whip of the majority, whether it's a majority party, the chief whip of the majority and the chief whip of the official opposition have to be in the Rules Committee. So those are the only positions that are guaranteed. Every other position into the Rules Committee is then allocated proportionally. That's what will break the deadlock. Because if we try to then say, no, these 9 must go to this block, these 2 must go there, it will not assist greatly. So let's guarantee only those 2 positions, and then the others are then allocated proportionally. What then it will mean as a last input, Chair, is that like it will have happened with the first sitting that determined the composition of the portfolio committees. The first sitting then determines the number and the composition of the Rules Committee. I so submit. Thanks very much, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Kana. Honorable Vessels.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, with regards to let me start with the composition of the Rules Committee.
Just a quick technical issue, Chair. Can the members maybe, I'm sorry, but I don't know, this is not meant badly. Just check what Parliament proposed so that we don't because the other propositions are the only documents that had not been presented. So it means we've got 3 options on the table, the Parliament option, the EFF option, and the ANC option, with a slight amendment by the DA. So that we say, I think it would help everyone because they are repeating the original submissions of Perrin in the first meeting.
Yes.
Okay, thanks for that, Honorable Ndlozi. I was going to give Mr. Xaso. I wanted just to round up all the members, then give to Mr. Xaso to present their presentation. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. No.
Mr. Honorable Vessels.
No, Chair, but we got the presentation of Parliament's proposals in that first meeting. Not the virtual one, the physical one, but in any event, the proposal by Parliament and the proposal by the DA is almost exactly the same. And then there's quite a difference if you then look at the ANCs and the EFFs. Chair, I hear what everybody is saying, but if one looks at Parliament's proposal, which then says that you have the composition of the chief whip of the largest party, and then 15 members of the National Assembly determined by the Speaker. That's Parliament's proposal. The DA then just adds the second largest whip. I want to make a third proposal with regards to that, and say that we do the chief whip of the largest party, the chief whip of the second largest party, and the chief whip of the official opposition, and then additional members, which will then be more or less the same as the 9 appointments that the ANC is proposing, but it will actually also encompass what the EFF is proposing and what the DA is proposing. And I think it's going to give better, it's going to satisfy the multi-party participation in the Rules Committee better than taking only one of these proposals. Chair, then with regards to the second largest or chief whip of the second largest party, I battle to find that in the rules with all due respect. And I'm also unsure, we do have to go and look at the positions that there are in terms of what the Honourable Ndlozi also spoke about. This is also about the money. And when you go and look at the schedule of positions, there's certain terminology there. And the terminology that's used there is the chief whip of the largest minority party. Not the second largest party, not the official opposition, but the largest minority party. And that's all that we should also consider here, because we're talking things with regards to the rules, but we shouldn't lose it out of sight that when you go to the Remuneration Commission, these are the posts that are gazetted, and these are the terminology. And we're going to have a problem talking about a chief whip of the opposition and a chief whip of the second largest party. Where is it going to find bearing in this? So I think that's the dilemma we have here. We can say we need a chief whip of opposition, because that is the way that it has functioned before. Then I do buy the argument by the DA's proposal to say that there is also responsibilities, that the seniority of a position is also proportional to the responsibilities of that position. And it won't completely make sense to say that, let's say in future, you have a party that has 47% of the members in the National Assembly, but they don't form part of government. They are the opposition. That they are not, they do not get a chief whip that's remunerated in terms of that seniority position. So both those issues should be taken into account, and I'm not sure how we actually resolve that. It's either creating three positions: the chief whip of the largest party that's in government, a chief whip of the second largest party, and a chief whip of the largest party that is not in government, meaning the opposition, the official opposition. Then you have three positions. Chief whip of the largest party that's part of government, chief whip of the second largest party in the Assembly, regardless of if they are in government or not, and then thirdly, the chief whip of the largest party that's not in government. So that's the official opposition. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Vessels. Honourable Member of the DA.
House Chair, I agree with the member totally. I think it would just be a matter of cleaning up the language so that it is, the essence of his proposal for me makes sense. It is just the language that would then need to follow that proposal, and I'm not suggesting that I do have that language.
Thanks, Honourable Podlani. Is there another hand before I go to Honourable Ndlozi? Honourable Stole?
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. I think I concur what the proposal from Honourable Vessels, but there's only two things that I want to submit to the meeting, because if we are talking about the largest opposition party, and then now I'm confused when Mr. Vessels says the largest, smallest part. So I didn't hear what minority part. What does that mean? Yeah, thank you.
Before I come to you, Honorable Ndlozi, let me take Honorable Makubela.
Thanks, Chairperson. You know, I'm now getting a bit confused whether we want to make a provision for a middle chief whip, which is not there in terms of the structure. Because currently, we've got a chief whip of the majority party, and then there's a chief whip of the official opposition. And the DA proposal, which brings in the chief whip of the second largest party in the assembly, is now like creating employment or wanting to create a system so that you benefit from the institution. It's either you are in, you've agreed to be part of the executive. There must be things that you forego in the process. And I would want us to not cloud this process and continue with the proposal of the structure that says there's a chief whip of the majority and the chief whip of the official opposition, and then there's the chief whip of the minority parties, and not bring in, because what DA is bringing now is something in the middle or something that is smuggled simply just so that you hold on to a position.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Okamp, I want to say that, Honorable Members, we have options before us that are presented. We have options that are supported. Then I want to plead with this meeting that let's take those options to the Rules Committee, because we cannot finalize them here. Maybe when we go to the Rules Committee, we would have find one another on these options. Honorable members, let me allow Mr. Klaso before you come in. Mr. Klaso.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, honorable members, that if we I'm talking now about the Rules Committee composition. So if we added 2 more chief whips, we would then have 23 members of the Rules Committee, which is fine. So the number is not the issue, but that is what you'd have. So we are moving from 19 members, which we had in the old order, to 23 members. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Klaso. Honorable Ndlozi, Honorable Okap, then I'll come to Honorable Matla.
Thanks, Chairperson. No, Chairperson, I agree first round is a presentation of positions. We've done that. You should give a second round and then test whether there's no agreement. I think we're about to arrive at an agreement. So I wouldn't agree that we close the debate now and then defer all the options. They are not even at this stage very clear what those options are. If, with your indulgence, I should proceed. I think the Parliament proposal comes radically closer to a very good way forward. One must first say, what is the job of a Rules Committee? What was Parliament trying to achieve, constituting it deliberately different to other committees? For instance, you would see that now the proposal of Parliament stresses that it too must be subjected to Rule 196, which is the proportional, if you check section 3 there, that's how it would look like in relation to the 15 other members. But what is the role of what does the Rules Committee do? It is the sort of highest decision-making body in Parliament. Most of the things are settled there. If they are not, they go to the National Assembly. And it's also a committee that doesn't sit as often as other committees. It's really a governing structure of Parliament that sits in the final resort and mediates on the final rulings. It can subject the Speaker, for instance, to a change of her rulings. It can change certain rules like the governance of Parliament. Let's first accept what is its duty, what is it doing in Parliament. If you do that, you would appreciate this proposal from the table staff. So I would persuade all of us to go there. Do not think of remuneration. Remuneration works in relation to the size of your members. So the DA will have its chief whip, whether we write it here or not. All parties have chief whips. That's why there's a chief whips forum, which is in the rules as well. Those people attend there. Chief whip of the DA has the right to go there, of IFP has the right to go there, and so on and so forth. I wonder if it would help us before I go to the finer details, I think the ANC must drop this language of different majorities. It is actually not necessary. In an instance where there is an outright majority, there must be a chief whip of the majority. In an instance where there isn't, it must be the chief whip of the largest party in the national executive. Full stop. There we agree. Leave those things off, because they are not, I don't know what they are resolving. You are safe in that definition. Now, I wonder if it would help us if we insisted, because if you think about how Parliament works, it's actually not useful to have different individuals. I don't know, by convention, the same people that sit in the programming committee sit normally in the chief whips forum and the rules committee. Because the discussions almost flow together there. If you don't sit in any of those structures, you might not, actually you'll always be foreign to the origin of issues. In terms of the rules committee, we may want to elevate chief whips. So I'm going to argue that it says chief whip of the majority party or the majority party, the largest party in the National Assembly. I'm consistent about that. That's the first person. You must give that a priority, because that person is that guy who stands there and proposes motions. It might not work if that person is not the person who's president, coming from the party of the leader of the national executive, in terms of how Parliament works. But give it to the largest party represented in the national executive. It's fine. I do think I agree that leader, a chief whip of the official opposition. And official opposition means the largest opposition. We have dealt with that in the definitions. Chief whip of the opposition. Because there's a symbiosis if you look at how Parliament works. And then 15 other chief whips of the National Assembly determined by the Speaker in a manner consistent with democracy and subject to Rule 196. But these people must necessarily be chief whips. In this sense, you're going to actually have 6 members of the ANC, 3 members of the DA, 2 members of MK, 1 member of the EFF, and other parties, taking 3. The Speaker will determine there is a system in Parliament. Or you say that consideration must be given to the Wipari. Why I'm doing this, I'm trying to accommodate the Democratic Alliance. That you are actually still going to have 6 people here. You can bring your chief whip. Maybe we don't have to say it. But you are not excluded. You will still sit in the Rules Committee and you are going to have 3 representatives. Now, if you go to the other members, check who the other members are in the composition earlier. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and House chairpersons. In a multi-party parliament where there's no outright winner, parties will be repeating themselves there. It won't be winner takes all. So House chairpersons at the moment, there are 3. And they don't represent one party. I think we have DA, ANC, and the IFP. You still have someone there. And then you've got, according to the proposal they've made here, 3 people you can send. In my view, this is a proper proposal. And then leader of government business. That's my last comment. You know, in a proper parliament, the leader of government business is the deputy president of the country. I know in this case you're thinking about Kronov. I mean, Honorable Kronov. I don't know how you are going to clarify that, because the Speaker announced last time that the Deputy President is responsible for, as leader of government business in the national, he's our bridge. Maybe we can revisit when people have experienced Parliament in the next 12 months. But let's just add one section here, which is Chief Whip of the official opposition. Doesn't matter whether that official position is the second largest party, third largest party. That regime no longer works, comrades. It no longer works. Anybody can be in the opposition. And then leader of government business. And then proportionality. Such a composition, if it's 15 members, it will mean the additional people is 6 people from the ANC, 3 people from the DA, which the party can decide whether it's their chief whips or not, but give preference. And the reason I'm saying this, Chairperson, is the way the rule is phrased here, determined by the Speaker. We might just want to say the Speaker in that determination wants to ask for members of the Wipari from those committees. From the parties. But otherwise, a party would not be thinking straight if it sends people who don't sit in programming and the chief whips to go be in the rules, because most of the time the discussions there will require that flow of information. Remuneration, leave it. You're going to get your Wipari money on the basis of the number of seats. So the DA's chief whip is going to earn more than the chief whip of the official opposition in terms of remuneration. Don't worry about that. But it's about what is the Rules Committee trying to achieve. And in that sense, we are still all represented in relation to this proposal, except just to elevate chief whip of the opposition, because it's really in compliance with the spirit of the Constitution that there must always be a designation of official opposition. Should you come this side, honorable members of the Democratic Alliance, you will have all those privileges. But money is about the seats in Parliament. Don't worry.
Honorable Okam.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, we had a lot of discussions tonight about the terms majority. Now, before the 7th Parliament, the majority was one party. It's always been like that. But now we came to a position now where there is not one party with a majority. So to and Honourable Wessels is 100% correct. The rules state that the chief whip of the largest minority party, that position is a recognized position. So if one argues that the ANC is the majority party, because they got the biggest amount of votes, although not an outright majority of 50+1, if one argues that they are the majority party, it remains a fact then that the DA is the second or is the largest minority party. The fact that we are in a government of national unity does not mean that we are one party. It's clear that every party has got its own identity, and that identity remains with you. So it's not about receiving extra money. It's not about trying to tap the system to create jobs. It's not what it's about. It's about rewriting the rule to accommodate for circumstances that were not necessarily predicted when these rules were written. And that's what we've got to do. And hopefully in the process, predict stuff that can happen in the future as well. So what I'm trying to say with this, Honourable Chairperson, is that we've got to distinguish between two factors here. The first is the official recognition of the chief whip of the largest minority party, as it is now, to encompass whether that party is in government or not, because that chief whip of the largest minority party at this stage is there because he has got to whip and manage the largest amount of people. That is why in our proposal from the DA side, we said there, chief whip of the second largest party, whether in government or not. We can call it chief whip of the largest minority party, but then again, we've got this argument of what is a majority, who is in minority. So I think we should keep it simple. The fact of the matter is that, and I must say, I don't know whether Honourable Ndlozi is right or wrong, because I just don't know. He might be right. But it's not about the money of that position. It's about the fact that the chief whip of a party with 99 members in its caucus will have a larger responsibility than a chief whip with 45 members in its caucus. And if you've got a larger responsibility and you're going to do more work, it's inevitable that you should, and it should be fair then that you should get compensation for that. But that is not what it's about. It's about laying down the principles for these rules. And if you read these rules now, we are the largest minority party, and our chief whip will therefore be recognized. So we've got to distinguish between the position of the chief whip and then the composition of the rules committee. And the composition of the rules committee can, in its current format, only be done if there has been maybe a change to the wording of having a chief whip of the second largest or largest minority party. So it's fine how we are going to compose the rules committee, and I don't have a problem with having the majority party or largest party, the second largest party, whether it's in government or not, and then a member of the chief whip of the official largest party in the official opposition, or largest party of the opposition, so that you've got your opposition parties officially represented by a whip. You've got your ruling party or your governing party. I think we must talk about the word governing, not ruling. King's rule, we govern. But that we've got the chief whip of your governing party, or the largest party in government, as well as the second largest party in parliament, because it represents the biggest amount of people. So, Chairperson, we are talking a lot in circles tonight, but I think in principle we agree. But it's very important that nobody should think that this is about creating positions. It's about being fair and rewriting terminology that did not make provision for that in the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Okamp. Honourable Ghana.
Thanks. And thanks, Honourable Ndlozi, for accepting my proposal that the chief whip of the official opposition needs to be included explicitly. Because even the proposal from Parliament did not explicitly do that. And I did that, then you seconded. Thanks. I think two other things. So it will, and what created a bit of a challenge, Honorable Ndlozi, is that initially you wanted the chief whips in the 15 members. And then later on you said it's a preference if it could be done here, because you start a party can only have one chief whip. So if the ANC in this current formulation, or MK, let me not use because MK is next to me, ANC is far. MK has got 2 members. MK will not have two chief whips. It can have one chief whip, which in the current parliament, you will then have the chief whip of MK already explicitly stated. So over and above the chief whip of MK, then you can have 2 other members. Those 2 other members cannot be chief whips because there's only one chief whip. So no, but you see, Ndlozi, you are talking about chief whips, and I'm responding to that.
Please.
Because you cannot have.
You may proceed.
So the other thing is that who the party sends to the roles and so forth should be left to the party. Whether the person is a whip or sometimes you need to mix it up. You cannot then say on the basis that one is a whip ought to be there, because there are certain things that are technical in that respect that you need to deal with. So I fully hear what Honorable Okamp is saying, and as I've raised, which now we are settling in terms of the composition of the roles. But when the numbers were mentioned, it might create a particular issue when we argue based on the current numbers. Because let's say, for instance, the third largest party is actually in government, and it's got the bigger caucus because it's the third largest member. But the official opposition has got fewer members than the third largest party. Do you then revisit the role on that basis? So you can then have a situation, and I'm trying to make sense to say, if you are adding the second one, are you not creating a space for the third one to be added? If the third party is actually in government, where the fourth party, which is the official opposition, now has got, let's say, it was Rising Stars with 2 members, as I'm going back to the example that I'd made. Rising Stars will be the official opposition. The third largest party will be MK. Would you make the same argument to then insert the third largest party and the fourth largest party and the fifth one, up until you get to a point where you've got a party that's above Rising Stars, which is the official opposition? So it might need a bit of a think. I fully hear it and fully understand it. That's why I settled on the proportionality, because proportionality, at least, it helps us not to go the first, the second, the third, and so forth. Because in an instance where MK was to be in government, in the current formulation, would it then ask to be inserted as the third largest party if we insert the second largest party? So there's something there. Whilst I fully hear and fully understand the spirit in which the proposal is made, and that's why I settled on this particular one, but we just need to think a lot deeper into the future. Will we have third, fourth, largest? But in any case, that hierarchy is created by the number of whips that parties are allocated. That indicates that this is the party with the highest number of votes. They get 27 whips. The second gets 16. The third, I think you've got 9 or somewhere around there, and so forth. But do we then need to then insert first, second, and third. I see it, but it opens a particular channel that we might not want to open at this stage. It's worth debating further, but let's think about a configuration where MK was to be a part of government now. Will it have an equal claim to be inserted as the third largest party in our rules? Will it have a legitimate claim if it was to join the government now and be in the executive? I leave you with that question. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Honorable Kana. Honorable Mahlaule.
No, thank you very much, Chair. And I think we are closer to resolving this matter. And thanks, Honorable Vessels, for pushing us closer to where we are now. Because Honorable Ndlozi is not far from Honorable Ghana and Vessels and what we had been speaking about. So let's agree that there are some things that we must put aside, and we put them aside as agreed. One must be that the composition will accommodate the chief whip of the largest party, one. Two, the second largest party. Three, the chief whip of the opposition party, official opposition party. Then the question that Honorable Ghana is coming with, yes, it needs to be responded to. And that is the part where we're entering in a space where we have never been. And it's one of those issues that you must deal with them as and when you navigate moving forward. But let's in principle agree that we agree with this composition, though it will take us to 23 members, which Honorable Mr. Klaso said is not a problem to have a composition of that amount. So it's reconciliatory in its approach. Let's just acknowledge that as and when we move, we may need to revisit where we are, because we have never been where we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Is there any member who want to say something who haven't spoken on this matter? Those who have not spoken. Thank you very much. I think we have come closer to one another. We have two options in this regard. Oh, it's one now. You withdrawing yours?
No, Chair. That's why if you were going to give us an opportunity, let's second the
option.
The
by
option of
Mahlaule.
the way the ANC summarized.
Okay.
There's no problem. I think we all need an opportunity to experience Parliament for 12 months or so. Then we will, because what Honorable Ghana raised, it will confront us sooner than later, and then we can come back in this form. But I agree, the composition of the Rules Committee as Chief Whip of the largest party in the National Executive, Chief Whip of the opposition, Chief Whip of the second largest party, and then 15 members in terms of democratic rules of rule. Is what one? I'll tell you now. As Perrin wrote it here, how that rule of constituting committees. Where is Perrin? I want to state it because I'm scared of the summary. Yeah, there.
191.
Rule 196. So all we are adding there are two more in this proposal of Parliament. Chief Whip of the opposition, which we know what that is, Chief Whip of the second largest party, and then 15 other members of the National Assembly determined by the Speaker in a manner consistent with democracy. and subject to Rule 196. You don't have to mention Wipari. I agree. And such a composition will be there on option 3. Obviously, you won't write that in the rule. But it will be, additionally, there will be 6 members from the ANC, which the ANC prefers, 3 DA, which the DA prefers, 2 MK, which the MK prefers, other than the office bearers that are mentioned. 1 EFF, other parties 3. The Speaker will determine in terms of Rule 196 who those people are. No problem. Agreed.
To clarify, Chair, that the Office of the Leader of Government Business is not a voting member there. The Office of the Leader of Government Business is not a voting member.
Including.
Yeah. Even currently. That is the Ms. Siwaya.
Ms. Way.
She's a parliamentary councillor to the Deputy President. So she would sit in those meetings.
She's on behalf of the Leader of Government.
Yeah. That's right.
Yes. Thank you very much, honorable members. I think we did a great job today as the subcommittee on rules. Indeed, the rules of parliament will always be reviewed, be amended at any given time. So when whatever will come our way, we will make sure that we deal with the rules accordingly. So we have agreed almost in everything. What we didn't agree upon, it's only one, the speaking sequence in mini plenaries and other debates. So that one is a discussion for another day. So we will come back, we will convene a meeting of the subcommittee on rules to deal with the other matters which were referred to us. So, honorable members, let me take this opportunity to
Sorry,
thank
Chair,
you
before
all.
you close, the other issue, it's about the agency of this committee in relation to the sitting of the Rules Committee for Thursday. Because the Speaker was very specific. If we can help them to give them these resolutions so that the Thursday SONA and budget vote 1 are handled properly, including the sitting arrangement. Can you give direction? My proposal is that we must request the Rule Committee to sit Wednesday so that there's a proper direction about the State of the Nation address debate.
Can I allow Mr. Khoso to respond with regard to the Rules Committee meeting?
Chair, we are trying to indeed secure Wednesday. It's difficult at the moment because of competing interests, but we'll do our best. Just guidance from yourselves, Chair, for Thursday. Would honourable members want us to change the sitting arrangement at the City Hall from what it was last week when we met there? Or do we think that we can still continue with what we had last week? For the opening address, yes.
Honorable Ndlozi?
No, because it's cinema style, it won't have effect. So the arrangement applies on an oval of, yeah. That's why we, in the other committees, we kept insisting that it will be great if you can secure an oval venue. But as long as in the speaking arrangement, Kaso, the leader of the opposition, I don't know what is can I ask actually, what is the final resolution? Is the debate on Friday or on Thursday?
It's on Friday.
Yeah, as long as the second thing you're going to tell us is that the order of speaking is that leader of opposition will speak second.
On Friday, yes.
On Friday, yes. Yeah. Honorable members, the real reason we are sitting here at this time of the night is because we wanted to finalize the work so that we don't delay the Rules Committee. So thank you very much. The Secretary to the National Assembly and the team will prepare the report. Then we will hear from the Speaker as to when is the Rules Committee. Thank you very much, honourable members. The meeting stands adjourned.
I asked him. Yebo, I asked him during the break. We met outside during the break.
Cinema, ne?
Yes.
The cinema, aina effect. But as long as we've won
Those were the most important things, yes.
leader of like the order of speaking. Yes. It's not bad to say, the first speaker can be, they will put Chief Mkwa.
Oh,
He
yes.
will open the time.
The following day will start.
following day, yeah.
Yes, which is not
Then
a
on the
problem.
budget vote one,
Yes.
the president speaks, then we speak immediately.
The budget vote, yes.
So because there's no committee there,
Yes.
Cyril will speak and then you speak.
Yes. The experience I'm with Justice Lapa, speaking after all Braden. It was just a joke because she endorsed everything that was said by the government of the day. I made that point. You had just gone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
It should be different. Bye-bye.
Yeah, because that's the order.
It should be different in the committees.
There are different parliament sittings.
Yes.
Just this council is part of the
Oh, he's part of the